All right, so are you ready to dive into a world that'll feel really familiar if you love Game of Thrones or House of the Dragons?
I think so. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. Today we're exploring Flight of the Harpy's Heart, a novel where magic is fading and survival is, well, a daily struggle.
Sounds intense. I'm intrigued.
Oh, it definitely is, but that's what makes it so good. And in this world, the lines between hero and villain are blurred.
Just like those morally gray characters in Game of Thrones, then.
Exactly. We're thrown into a world where what's left of this once really powerful kingdom is dealing with a terrifying new enemy.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of enemy are we talking about here?
Harpies.
Harpies, really? Like those half-bird, half-women creatures from mythology?
Yep, but they're definitely not the dainty bird women you're thinking of.
Oh.
These creatures are organized, ruthless, and wicked smart.
So how does the story start?
Well, we're introduced to Captain William Hawthorne. He's a seasoned soldier, and he's been given the job of defending a village after a really bad harpy attack.
Sounds like a tough job.
It really is. But it gets even more complicated. He has to rely on a band of pardoned prisoners to help him do it.
Wow, so it's like he's leading a band of criminals.
Pretty much, which creates some serious tension right from the start.
I bet. So who are these prisoners?
Well, there's Aiden, a foreign warrior with a pretty mysterious past. He's an amazing swordsman.
What kind of swordsmanship are we talking about?
He's described as this master of the scimitar, and he has this like raw, almost primal fighting style.
He sounds intense.
He really is.
So we've got harpies and ex-prisoners. What else is there to this world?
Well, it's steeped in all this ancient lore, and we get glimpses of it through Aiden's stories, tales of forgotten empires and ancient wars.
It kind of reminds me of all the history and lore in Game of Thrones with the Targaryens and the Old Wars.
Right, like we hear whispers of wyvern riders, these legendary warriors who once ruled the skies. But they're long gone now.
So no more dragons.
Nope, they're long gone. Now it's all about grit and strategy, just like in Game of Thrones. Survival depends on your cunning and a good dose of luck.
So it sounds like this world is in a really tight spot.
It really is, and that's where Flight of the Harpy's Heart really grabs you. You start to understand that winning is never a sure thing, and even a tiny mistake can mean death.
Just like in Game of Thrones, right? One wrong move and you're done.
Exactly. But instead of wildlings or White Walkers, it's those scary harpies we talked about, and they aren't messing around. And their motivations go way beyond just being hungry.
So they're not just mindless monsters then. They have a deeper purpose.
That's the big mystery, and the novel gives us some interesting clues.
Like what?
Well, there's this mysterious veil that's covering the world.
A veil. What does that mean?
It's like this creeping darkness that's twisting the land, and it might be messing with the harpies too.
That sounds intense. A bit like the Long Night in Game of Thrones, but maybe more mysterious.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the second flood prophecy.
Ooh, prophecies always add an extra layer of intrigue. What's this one all about?
It pops up throughout the story, and it definitely adds to the tension.
So while they're dealing with this prophecy and this mysterious veil, what are the characters doing to, actually survive?
Well, they have to use everything they have, their wits, their courage, anything they can find to fight back.
It's like the small folk in Game of Thrones trying to survive while the lords and ladies play their games.
Exactly. And just like Tyrion used his intelligence to survive King's Landing, some of the villagers in this story are surprisingly clever.
Okay, you have to tell me more. Who are these villager brainiacs?
Well, there's Gilbert. He seems like your average bookish type at first.
Okay, so not a fighter then, more of a strategist.
You could say that, but he knows a ton about harpies and old lore, so he becomes the go-to expert.
What about inventors or builders? Anyone like that?
Oh, yeah. There's Old Man Jed, the village engineer. He's a total genius, but he also loves his drinks.
Sounds like my kind of engineer. What kind of things does he build?
Well, he's a master at using something called a hwacha.
A hwacha. Remind me what that is again?
Think of it like a giant crossbow that shoots a bunch of flaming arrows all at once.
Wow, that sounds intense. Definitely a game changer in a fight.
Right. So we've got these regular people, former convicts, and they're all thrown together in this desperate fight. It's a real underdog story.
We've talked about some pretty interesting characters, but there's one more we haven't gotten to yet.
There is. Oh, come on. You can't leave me hanging. Tell me more.
All right. Get ready for Kazama, a warrior shrouded in mystery.
Okay, a mysterious warrior? You've got my attention. What's his deal?
He's this incredibly skilled swordsman, but his style is completely unique. He's got this, discipline, but with a touch of something. different.
Different how? What kind of sword does he even use?
He uses a curved blade, kind of like Aiden, but his fighting style is something else entirely.
Intriguing.
Yeah, it's hinted that he might be from a long-lost samurai clan.
Oh, wow. A samurai warrior in this world. That's a really cool twist. So with all this going on, the Harpies, the Veil, the prophecy, what's the main point of the story?
It's really about adapting to survive. Just like we were talking about with Game of Thrones, this world is changing and the old ways aren't enough anymore.
Yeah, it makes you think about how people have to adapt to new threats and challenges, especially in a world without magic or dragons to save them.
Exactly. And the story doesn't shy away from showing how tough that can be.
So how does it all end? Do the characters find a way to push back against all these threats?
Well, the ending is a mix of hope and this lingering sense of unease.
How so?
The villagers manage to escape the Harpies, but the Veil is still out there, and we know the fight isn't really over.
Oh, I see. Kind of a bittersweet victory then.
Yeah, exactly. Aiden, our main guy, he's changed by everything he's seen. He's seen what it really costs to survive in this world.
That's what always gets me about these kinds of stories. The emotional toll is just as powerful as the physical battles.
Definitely, and that's what makes Flight of the Harpy's Heart such a great read.
It sounds like a must-read for anyone who loves Game of Thrones or House of the Dragons. It's got all the action, intrigue, and moral dilemmas that make those stories so compelling.
Totally agree. If you're looking for a story that'll keep you on the edge of your seat and make you think about the world in new ways, this is it.
Well, there you have it. Another deep dive, another fascinating world explored. I hope you enjoyed this journey with us today, and as always, happy reading.